Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Clarity English Podcast, your relaxed, friendly place to learn real English through everyday conversations. I am Emma.
And I am Mike. And I brought something today.
What is it?
A notebook.
A notebook.
Not just any notebook. I have been writing things in it. Thoughts, advice, things I tell myself when things go wrong.
You kept a self-advice notebook?
For about 3 months, and I was quite proud of it.
Was. Past tense.
I read it again last week.
And?
Some of it is quite good. Some of it is a little embarrassing, and some of it is the kind of advice that sounds wise until you actually need it.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
I thought we could look at some of the things I wrote to myself and test them, see if they actually hold up.
You want to put your own advice on trial.
Exactly. You can ask the uncomfortable questions.
I am very good at that.
I know. That is why I invited you.
Before we start, hello everyone, welcome to this episode. This one is for B1 and B2 learners. If you are A2, stay with us. You do not need to understand every word. Just follow the conversation, enjoy the ideas, and repeat any sentence that feels useful.
And stay until the end, because we have our Say It Better section, where we take simple sentences and make them sound more natural and more honest.
For example, instead of saying, I talk badly to myself, you can say, I tend to be my own harshest critic.
Much more specific and natural.
Okay, let us open the notebook.
First page. I wrote this on a particularly difficult Monday about 8 weeks ago.
What does it say?
Just focus on the positives. You see, even you reacted.
Not in a bad way. It's just very optimistic.
It's the kind of thing someone says to you in a corridor. You mention your week was hard and they say, oh, just focus on the positives.
And how did you feel when someone said that to you?
Like they wanted me to stop talking about the difficulty.
Like the difficulty was the problem, not the situation causing it.
Exactly. And yet, I wrote the same thing to myself.
So why did you write it?
Because I had just made a mistake at work, a real one. I sent an email to the wrong person.
How wrong?
I sent feedback about a meeting to the person the feedback was about.
Oh.
Yes, a very educational moment for everyone involved.
What happened next?
I sat at my desk for about 15 minutes, feeling sick. Then I wrote, just focus on the positives.
What were the positives at that moment?
I couldn't actually find any. I just kept reading what I had sent.
So the advice did not help.
No, because there was nothing to focus on. The difficulty was real and recent and still sitting in my inbox.
And I think that's the problem with just focus on the positives. It asks you to look away from something that actually needs your attention.
The mistake needed acknowledging. It needed a response. It needed an apology.
Not a redirect towards something nice.
Right. What actually helped was I wrote a clear, honest apology. I sent it, and then I moved on.
So the helpful action was facing the thing that needed facing, not finding a way around it.
Yes, the situation needed clarity, not comfort.
So let's repair that one. What would you write instead?
Face the thing that needs facing, and then look forward.
That's better. It doesn't ignore the difficulty, it deals with it first.
I'm crossing out the old one and writing that.
Good. First, repaired message. Next one.
Page 7. I wrote this after a conversation went badly.
What happened in the conversation?
A friend and I disagreed about something, not dramatically, but we both said a few things we didn't mean, and then the call ended a little awkwardly.
And what did you write to yourself?
You are always too sensitive.
Oh.
Yes, not kind.
You were criticizing yourself for having a feeling.
For feeling hurt by something someone close to me said.
And is that too sensitive, or is that just having feelings?
At the time, I thought it was a weakness, like sensitivity was a flaw in my character that kept causing problems.
But sensitivity is also why you noticed the conversation went wrong, why you cared enough to feel something about it.
I hadn't thought about it that way.
The same quality that makes you feel hurt is the same quality that makes you a good listener, that makes you notice when other people are struggling.
So I was treating something useful as something shameful.
And the advice you gave yourself made it worse. You were already uncomfortable, and then you told yourself you were too much.
Too much. Yes, that's exactly how it felt.
What did you actually need to hear in that moment?
Probably it's okay to feel this. You don't have to explain it or fix it immediately.
That's a much kinder piece of advice.
I think I was so used to being the calm one that when I felt something strongly, I treated it as a failure.
Like you had broken your own rule.
Exactly, the rule that I should always be composed.
And that rule was pressure, not support.
Yes, I wasn't supporting myself, I was managing myself.
There's a difference.
A big one. So what do I write instead of always too sensitive?
Something like, feeling this means you care. That's not a problem.
Much gentler and actually true.
Feeling things is not a flaw. It is information.
Second repaired message. I like this exercise. Third one. This one I wrote on a Sunday evening. I had done almost nothing all weekend. I had rested, watched things, gone for a short walk. Nothing productive.
That sounds like a good weekend.
My Sunday evening brain did not agree. It wrote, "You wasted the whole weekend."
Wasted.
Like the weekend was a resource I had failed to use correctly.
And what should you have done with it instead?
That is the question, because the honest answer is, I was tired. I needed rest. My body needed to stop moving and doing and producing.
But your Sunday evening brain did not accept that.
No, it wanted a list of achievements, a finished project, a skill learned, something to show for 48 hours.
And instead you had rest.
Which is also something, but I could not see it that way.
I think we are very bad at counting rest as a real activity.
Because it does not look like anything when it is finished.
Right. If I work for 2 hours, I can show the result. If I rest for 2 hours, what do I show?
Less tiredness, more patience, a body that is slightly less depleted.
All real things. All invisible.
And because they are invisible, I treated them as worthless. And then I wrote, wasted the whole weekend.
Which made the rest feel like a mistake instead of a choice.
And then the guilt of the supposed wasted weekend followed me into Monday.
So the advice made Monday harder.
Yes, a weekend that had actually served a real purpose, recovery, was turned into evidence of laziness.
So what is the more honest message?
Rest is recovery, not failure.
I like that. Short, clear, lets the rest be what it actually was.
Third repaired message.
Okay, I want to ask you something before the next one.
Go ahead.
Do you think the way we talk to ourselves actually affects how we behave?
Yes, I think the words we use about ourselves become the story we believe.
Give me an example.
If I say I am always too sensitive, I start being careful not to show feelings. I hide them. I perform composure even when I do not have it.
Because you have told yourself the feelings are a problem.
Exactly. But if I say feelings are information, suddenly I'm more willing to pay attention to them, to ask what they are telling me.
Same person, different inner language, completely different behavior.
And this is why self-talk is not just motivational, it's functional. It changes what we do.
And what we stop doing.
Yes, I stopped allowing myself to rest fully because I had told myself rest was waste.
The language had consequences.
Real consequences, which is why I wanted to look at these things I had written, because if they were wrong, they were quietly affecting me.
And some of them were wrong.
Some of them were very wrong. Let's look at the next one. Page 14. I wrote this after I tried something new and it did not go well.
What did you try?
I attempted to cook something I had never made before, a recipe that looked manageable on the screen and turned out to be almost architectural in its complexity.
Architectural.
The dish required 17 steps. I made it to step 9 before something went clearly wrong and I couldn't identify which of the previous 8 steps had caused it.
And what did you eat?
Toast, with great humility.
And what did you write?
You should have known it was too hard for you.
Oh, that's quite harsh.
Very harsh, and also not fair, because I had no way of knowing it was too hard before I tried.
You can only discover the difficulty of something by attempting it.
Right, but I turned the attempt itself into a mistake.
Trying was the mistake?
That's what I told myself, as if I should have known in advance, as if trying something new is only acceptable if you succeed.
And if that's the rule, what happens next time you see something you want to try?
You don't try, because last time you tried, you ended up telling yourself you should have known better.
So the advice was actively discouraging you from attempting things.
Yes, it was a warning not to reach, not to experiment, not to be a beginner at anything.
And yet, beginners are the only people who ever learn anything new.
Exactly. The first attempt at anything looks like the cooking disaster. That's normal.
What would you write instead?
Trying something is not a failure. Not finishing the attempt with success is just being a beginner.
Or, even shorter, first attempts are supposed to go wrong. That's how they work.
Much better, and kinder, and accurate.
Fourth repaired message.
Last one. I saved this one for the end because I think it's the most interesting.
What does it say?
You know better, do better. It sounds reasonable at first.
It does. What's the problem with it?
I wrote it after I had done something I already knew was not a great idea. I stayed up very late on a work night. I knew I would feel terrible in the morning. I did it anyway.
And the next day?
Felt terrible, and then wrote, you know better, do better.
As a criticism.
As a judgment, like I was a student who had disappointed a strict teacher.
And the strict teacher was also you.
Yes, I was both the person who had made the choice and the person punishing them for it.
How productive was that?
Not at all. I felt worse, and feeling worse didn't make me sleep earlier the next night.
Because guilt is rarely a useful fuel.
No, it creates shame, not change. I know this, and I still did it to myself.
I think this is very common. People confuse self-criticism with self-improvement. Like, if I am harsh enough with myself, I will finally do better.
But it does not work like that.
No, what actually helps is understanding why you made the choice.
The real reason I stayed up late was not stupidity, it was that I was avoiding thinking about something that was worrying me.
And staying awake felt easier than lying in the dark with the worry.
Exactly. The late night was a symptom, not the problem.
And you know better, do better addressed the symptom, not the thing underneath.
Right. A more honest note would have been, what were you avoiding?
That asks a real question instead of delivering a verdict.
And once I ask that question honestly, I might actually find the answer.
Which is where real change comes from, not from shame, from understanding.
So what do I write instead?
Something like, what was underneath that choice? That is the thing worth looking at.
Fifth and final repaired message.
And that is a much better notebook.
It has better questions and fewer verdicts.
Questions move you forward. Verdicts just weigh you down. Now, time for our word tour. 5 useful words from today, slow and clear.
With examples. Our first word, composure.
Composure means the ability to stay calm and in control of your feelings, especially in a difficult moment.
For example, I lost my composure completely when I realized I had sent the wrong email.
Or, she maintained her composure during the whole difficult conversation, even though she was upset inside.
Composure is the calm you hold on to or the calm you lose when something unexpected happens.
Our second word, acknowledge.
Acknowledge. To acknowledge something means to accept and recognize that it is real, not to argue with it or push it away.
For example, I need to acknowledge that I am feeling overwhelmed before I can do anything useful about it.
Or, he never acknowledged the mistake, which made it impossible to move forward.
Acknowledging something is not the same as surrendering to it. It's just being honest about what's there.
Our third word, symptom.
A symptom is a sign that something else is happening underneath, something you can see on the surface that points to a deeper cause.
For example, the late nights were a symptom. The real issue was anxiety about an unresolved problem.
Or anger is sometimes a symptom of fear. What looks like frustration might actually be worry.
Looking for the symptom is useful. Looking for what the symptom points to is even more useful.
Our fourth word, verdict.
Verdict, a final judgment, a conclusion, a decision that something is true.
For example, I turned one bad attempt into a verdict about my abilities. That was not fair to myself.
Or she gave herself a verdict of failure after one difficult week, when the real story was much more complicated.
A verdict closes a conversation. A question opens it. Be careful which one you reach for when things go wrong.
Our fifth word, depleted.
Depleted means your energy or your resources have been used up. You are running low, empty in some way.
For example, by Friday afternoon, I felt completely depleted. My patience, my concentration, everything was gone.
Or she was emotionally depleted after weeks of supporting other people without taking care of herself.
Depleted is not the same as weak. It just means something needs refilling.
5 words: composure, acknowledge, symptom, verdict, depleted.
Try using one of them today when you describe how you're feeling or how a situation went.
And now, say it better. We take simple sentences and make them more honest and more natural.
Let us begin.
First sentence. I talk badly to myself.
Better version, I tend to be my own harshest critic, or I am often harder on myself than I would be on anyone else.
Harshest critic is specific. It shows that the self-talk is not just negative, it is the most negative voice in the room.
Second sentence, I have a bad feeling about this.
Better version. I have a sense of unease about this. Or, something about this situation is making me anxious and I'm not sure why yet.
Unease is more specific than bad. It describes the feeling more accurately without dramatizing it.
Third sentence. I was very hard on myself.
Better version, I gave myself a very harsh verdict. Or, I was much more critical of myself than the situation deserved.
Both versions show you recognize the self-criticism was disproportionate. That is more mature and more honest.
Fourth sentence, I felt empty after that week.
Better version, I felt completely depleted by the end of the week. Or, the week left me with nothing left to give.
Depleted is precise. It is not just empty, it's the specific emptiness of something that has been used up.
Fifth sentence, I did not want to deal with my feelings.
Better version, I was avoiding something I did not want to acknowledge. Or, I kept myself busy so I would not have to sit with what I was feeling.
Acknowledge makes it more specific. You're not just avoiding feelings, you're avoiding the act of recognizing they're real.
Sixth sentence, I do not know why I behaved that way.
Better version, I'm still looking for the symptom underneath that behavior. Or, I think the way I acted was pointing to something I haven't fully understood yet.
Both versions are honest, and they leave the question open rather than closing it with a verdict about yourself.
6 sentences, all more honest, all more natural, all a little kinder.
Before we finish, what is the thing from today you want to take with you?
The difference between a verdict and a question. When something goes wrong, a verdict closes the conversation. I'm too sensitive. I wasted the weekend. I should have known better. All verdicts.
And a question?
A question like, what was underneath that? What did I actually need? What is this telling me? Those open something. They move you forward.
And the notebook?
Needs more questions, fewer verdicts.
I'm working on it, and for our listeners, we want to hear from you.
Write one thing you often tell yourself when something goes wrong. It doesn't have to be the repaired version, just the honest one.
And if you want, write the repaired version too.
We read every single comment, and seeing your honest self-talk might help someone else recognize theirs.
If today was useful, please follow Clarity English Podcast. Share this with one person who is harder on themselves than they should be.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
See you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye!